Card player columnist, WSOP bracelet winner, and Learn Pro Poker training site founder Ryan Laplante is well known on Twitter for his popular polls that break down hands and poker strategy concepts. In this video, Card Player TV caught up with Laplante to discuss a poll he posted in which he asked his followers about their expectations when they enter a poker tournament. Laplante asked what result they expected from any given tournament that they enter, given that they play well. Only 32% of voters said they expected to bust outside of the money, while the other 68% either planned on making the money, running deep, or even making the final table. We asked Laplante for his thoughts about the poll and perhaps the unrealistic expectations players were having when they enter any one event.
I feel as though most people have a misconception about what really should be expected when you're playing a tournament and what a pro expects when playing a tournament. I feel as though that having the right mindset about it really helps you a lot with dealing with tilt, not being frustrated with results, and trying to be a lot more decision oriented. You know, if you just focus on how well you're playing and how good of decisions you're making, via that you will do well eventually. And poker tournaments especially so are a game for the long run. So if you're focusing on day-to-day results, month-to-month results, or even year-to-year results for playing live tournaments, you're just going to be upset because most of the time you're going to be losing money over very long stretches. I average 6 months to a year losing. So I usually lose money for 6 months to a year, and I'll win a big tournament or have a really good couple of weeks at the World Series, and I'll be up a lot of money, and then I'll go another 6 months to a year where I'm breaking even or losing money, and then I'll just repeat it. And that's normal. And if you have expectations that say, hey, when I enter this tournament, I'm going to do well, that's not a common occurrence. In fact, I run a very high cash rate when playing live. I usually cash between 25 to 35% of my total entries, somewhere in that range, over any given random decent stretch. And that still means that 65 to 75% of the time I'm just not making money. And I'm usually getting sucked out on or getting forced into these situations. It's just there's so many different ways in which you can run poorly that your mind doesn't really handle dealing with variance very well when you're focusing on trying to have good results. But when your expectation going into a tournament is I'm just going to lose this money the huge majority of the time, then you're okay with it happening. And then instead of being, hey, I cashed in this tournament, I had a good result, instead it's, I played well, I had a good result. And when you're focusing on that, then it doesn't really matter what really happens in any buy in any tournament. This is also why bankroll management is one of the most important factors of playing the game for a living, because if you're playing in games that you can't really afford to lose in, and then you're focused on losing X amount of dollars, then you're not going to be able to play your best, and you're going to be really frustrated when you lose. That's going to really impact the future games that you can play and how you're going to be approaching them. So anytime I play anything whatsoever, whether it's a 50K no limit or the 25K PLO or so on and so forth, in my mind, before I sit down, I've already lost that money. That way, when I'm, going through these swings throughout the course of the tournament, I'm not going, oh, I had this amount of chips, oh, I had that amount of chips, oh, I wish this hand had gone better. Instead, I'm just going, how am I playing? What's my stack at? What's my table dynamics? How do I need to make these decisions to maximize my edge and win rate? And when I'm purely focused on that and not really focused on what my stack's doing or what result I'm hoping for, then I'm able to have a much more clear mind about every decision that I take. Allows me to trust my instincts a lot more. I play ridiculously better when I'm in this type of mindset, and I care so little about downswings or beats or whatever that I take. And in the past, I was so results oriented that I cared about making X amount of dollars, about winning X tournament, about so on and so forth, that I would get exceptionally frustrated. But now I busted the 50K in 25 minutes. I was the first person to bust 300 big blinds deep, and I honestly didn't really care. I mean, I cared about how well I played, and I thought I played very well, and that was the deciding factor, so whether I was happy or unhappy. Or the beat that I took against Steven Song three-handed. The difference between me winning there and not was honestly worth $200,000 in a bracelet, which that's a lot of money to lose a 75%er on. And a second bracelet I care a lot about. But instead of being, really frustrated or angry or anything, I, honestly didn't. I just shrugged it off and went into the next tournament. And, being in that type of mindset makes the entire summer grind and the rest of my grind infinitely easier.
Laplante also reminded tournament players that it is hard to get a statistically significant sample size in live tournament poker, which means it is possible to see variance greatly affect your results, either positively or negatively, over the course of months or even years.
Let's say you're playing a game in which you're confident you have like a 200% ROI in. You will still average losing years. If you play that tournament, 200 times over the course of the year, you're going to average a losing year. And most people don't even play anywhere near that volume. Most people, most part-time players, might play between 15 and 50 tournaments in a year. Most pros are going to play between 50 and 200 in a year. And even a full-time pro playing 150 entries plus a year, if they look at their, the results over the last 6 years, yeah, that's a decent sample and they can kind of look into things. But when it takes that large of a sample of games to really know what your results truly look like and should be, it doesn't matter. All you can really do is always consistently focus on playing better and being in the best mindset and playing in games that you can afford to play. There's nothing really else you can really think about or worry about.
Thanks to Ryan Laplante for his advice about realistic expectations for tournament play, and thank you for checking out this video right here on cardplayer.com.